Good day, friends. It is just about straight up noon, and I'm sure that was short notice as far as when I'm live streaming, but planning to do at this moment about a 1 hour session. What I want to do is we're going to do a little experiment today with the plastic tool, I think. My idea is to add some texture to this tent and actually animate it with the plastic tool. And so let's just dive right in. I think what we're going to probably want to use is a smart raster level, I think. File, save all, always saving as I go. What I wanted to do, okay, and then let's go ahead and lighten that a little bit. Okay, so now hitting the N key so I can sort of zoom in. I want to tighten that up a little bit. When I've done it before, what I've done is kind of put some seams in here like this. So what I'm also going to have to do is use the Smart Raster brush tool to put a little bit of color around this seam, basically a shadow, if you will, that will thicken up the zone that the plastic tool is then going to be able to respond to. We're essentially going to have two different skeletons, if you will, because what I'm going to do is basically create like a chain kind of situation. So, what the heck? And by the way, I've got to go back and check yesterday's video, but I think yesterday's video was a little funky. I had my streaming software, OBS, streaming for a while before the before I actually went live, and I think it went ahead and tacked on 15 minutes or I haven't had time today to go and look at it, but I think it tacked some of the so what you guys saw when I went live was when I went live, but the time that it was streaming before it was actually live, I think got tacked onto the video that was uploaded, which kind of wasn't supposed to do. Hey, Claude. So, I don't know. I need to go and check. I'm like the quintessential bad YouTuber because I don't pay that close of attention to some of the details. But okay, so what I'm doing is I've drawn these lines, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this bit of color. I guess I could probably thicken up the brush a little bit. But basically, I'm going to put this little shadow zone along here to just kind of create the sense that this is a seam that presumably got sewn from the inside, you know, that type of thing. And then I'll actually do the opposite on the other side of it, put a highlight, and then just animate that with the plastic tool and see how it goes. I don't know how well this is going to work, but so the idea here would be to create another color, sample the tent color, and then this time what I'm going to do is go a little bit lighter. Just a little bit lighter. Oh, it's just going to add color only and just kind of bleep right over the lines. And as you can see, I'm probably going to want to actually add a little bit, put it this way, it's hard to control the color. So the easiest way to control it, like this highlight's a little bit harsh, I think. But if I go ahead and add a little bit of transparency into the color palette entry, then I can dial in how harsh I want that highlight to be. So right there, it seems a little strong, but as you can see here, if we just kind of ease it out like that, just change the alpha value a bit, and we can always change our mind, you know. And the shadow side of it looks about right, actually. Okay, so now this should definitely be an interesting experiment. Okay, so what I'm going to do is hit the X key and create a mesh. And as you can see, what the plastic tool is doing is it's finding both of these zones and putting a mesh around them. And now what I'm going to do is build a skeleton. And I think the way I'll do it is actually click up here to create a root, and then I'm going to fork this off in two different directions. And it's going to be like a snake. So I'm going to go ahead and be pretty liberal with my nodes here. And then over here, we're going to just do the same thing. That way they can be animated independently because they're going to probably move not necessarily in unison. So yeah, we're creating a snake is what we're doing. Okay? That's probably about right. And as usual, save my work. Oh, so you're upgrading. Okay. You're doing both OpenToonz and Tahoma. Yeah, I mean, I haven't upgraded. I actually think I'm still on, let's see, what are we on? Here. I'm on 1.2. My OpenToonz, I don't think I upgraded to 1.5 yet. It sounds a little stupid that I wouldn't know that, but I'm so focused on just kind of doing the work that I don't. I'm usually reticent to upgrade unless there's a darn good reason to. But anyway, I'm hitting the X key again. I'm going to go into animate mode. Okay, so now probably we're going to be just do a little something so that there's a keyframe set, and now basically once she starts moving, like right there, I'm going to move this keyframe down to right before she starts moving, and then here I'm going to turn off keep distance, and then we're just going to try to be, just be sensitive to what's happening here with the fabric. And it will be a bit of a challenge. Probably one of the more challenging things about it is the fact that obviously if you move a node, everything downstream moves. So you really have to think about what you're moving. Like right there, this node, I inadvertently moved it down, which I really shouldn't have. So let's kind of go with that. Okay, that's probably okay. Okay, so now this is where I've got to be sort of careful. Let's try something like this. I don't want to stretch these guys too much, but I just want to. Okay, and now I want to go over and look at this one. This one's not going to change too much. It's probably just a little bit here, a little bit there. Anybody who's watched me for a while knows I tend to like animating straight ahead. I think pose to pose would be pretty difficult with something like this. Okay, so now nothing's going to move, and then poof. Okay, so all through here, nothing's going to happen. And then right here, we're going to see things change again. So for me, I would say with the wrinkles and whatnot, we're kind of seeing a little bit of movement here. So let's just, like I said, we don't want to get too crazy. We've got some latitude here because there's a bunch of frames here that, it's just each drawing is only on the screen for one frame. So things are moving kind of fast. So we do have room to not be necessarily totally perfect. But what I'm kind of feeling here is I'm feeling this creasing in a bit, like that, which means I then have to compensate. Okay, so now one thing I need to do here, or I'm going to get in trouble, is I need to hit Control C, and I need to copy this key here because I'm seeing the interpolated values, which is not what I want. Okay, there we go. My bad. Okay, so this moves in, and does the onion skinning help me here? I think it might. Let's go to this frame. Yeah, look at that. That helps. Okay, that helps a lot. So we're just going to allow the fabric to stretch a bit. And then let's see what we have here. That's a pretty big change. So now it's going to squunch. Let's let it squunch like so. You know, as I often say, I reserve the right to foul this up terribly and completely blow it, but I'm going to try. Okay, so here, this one, gosh, what do we have here? Oh, I see, I'm seeing the onion skin. Okay, so I definitely want to leave that kind of like that, but again, I've got the same problem I just mentioned a bit ago, which is I need to, you know, I really need to work from the top and then just kind of ease this around. This is the kind of thing that actually, like in a program like Krita where you could use the liquefy tool. Thanks, J Studios. Doing fine this morning. It's a bit of a busy morning, but you know, we're getting along. I'm planning on just doing a 1-hour session here, and then probably, and I may be back on later today, but I'm really looking at this as I've got one task I want to accomplish, and we'll do our best with it, and then leave other accomplishments for another session, maybe later in the day or whatever. So here, I'm thinking about where this edge would be. So yeah, this is definitely going to squunch around like the Dickens here. The proverbial Dickens. So I'm going to go ahead and have some fun with it. Like that. And again, save early, save often. Yeah, that's probably going to work, I think. Okay, so here, we don't want the interpolation, right? Because this is frame by frame animation. It snaps from this pose to this pose, so we don't want it to interpolate between. So hence I'm going to take this keyframe, copy it, and paste it here so that there's no interpolating going on between these two frames right here. And then there, we're going to again squunch this like crazy. Squunch, squunch, squunch. And kind of let that kind of wrap around there. Is that the last node? I think it is. Let's go over here, see what this guy's doing. And again, just a kind of a gentle move. We don't want to move this one a lot, but we do want it to kind of follow the contour of the action. So this is actually fairly organic type animation, isn't it? Okay, so I really probably need to smooth this out a bit. Again, I wish I could move these independently without everything downstream adjusting, but it is what it is. So we're getting there, and that's it. I think that is all we have. And so now if we turn off the plastic tool, let's see what we did. I tell you, this one over here I like. This one over here I don't like. Okay. Basically, this is the mistake right here, I would say. So we'll turn this back on. My mistake is having this curve out, I feel, is a mistake. And I'm going to turn the onion skins back on so I can kind of follow this around a little better. And so this key is going to be all wrong, but that's okay, man. You know, we'll just make adjustments and see how she goes. see how she goes, friends. See how she goes. That I like better. And so again, same thing, same situation here. Ooh, that's interesting. Okay, Control, or not Control Z, just Z. Yeah, what I need to do is take this, Control C, Control V here to paste that key in. And then obviously this key is really out of whack. But let's go ahead and try to follow that sort of billowing contour of the fabric as best we can. You know, this is a cartoon. We're not gonna... It ain't gonna be photo real, folks. But I think that's gonna be better. Let's give it a crack. Yeah, that is better. I'm sure that's better. Okay, now the gradient over top of the whole shot. Let's just render this actually. Let's render it and see what we've got in our show. So save all. This is one of the more challenging shots I've done recently, frankly. I'm creating some character designs right now for animation. This is definitely my favorite part. Nice to hear that you're doing good. Thank you, J Studios. I would say thank you, sir, but I don't actually know that J Studios is a guy. J Studios could be a girl. So I'm going to go best on my editor. I'm not going to switch screens. I'm just going to come over here and kind of just feel how things are playing here. Oh my gosh, that is so much better. Okay, I like it. I'm glad I did that. Yeah, the gradient is helping with the color. There's a little bit of a hiccup here and here. So right there, I think those are probably the second to last keys. Yep. Well, maybe not. Hang on. We got the last key, second to last key, which probably needs some work, and then the third to last key. Okay, cool. Hey, Inio-san. How you doing, brother? Okay, so now what we're going to do is make some fixes here. It's a little challenging because I really need to work backwards, so to speak. So this one, we can see a hiccup there. I'm not even going to worry about the other side right now. I'm just going to try to get this one under control. Okay, and then this, remember, is a copy of this. And then this is probably not too bad, although if I was really going to trust myself to do what my gut says, I would actually put kind of a bit of a curvature there. Let me see if that worked. It's probably too extreme. Let's turn the onion skins back on, and yeah, that's really too much of a move. I mean, it does move quite a bit, but if we put a line there, yeah, we need to split the difference. It's just too big of a move. So I think what I'll do is kind of let it conform to the prior key a little better up here. One. Yeah, there's an obvious problem. This is okay. This is like majorly not okay. In kind of a big way. I think that's okay. Again, we're going to take this key, copy it to here, and then we just have this last move, which it looks to me, it's quite a little wrinkle we've got there, but I think it might be okay. So let's give it a shot. Not going to think it out too bad. Yeah, see, now that's working. You could you could kind of make an argument about this one over here. If we wanted to improve it, probably what you'd want to do is squunch those nodes together more, I think. But on the other hand, this does go by pretty quick, so we have to make a command decision here on whether what I'm seeing matters. And I would have to say probably not. What we can do, though, is improve the drawings a little bit so they support what's... okay, thanks, J Studios, for clarifying that. Now what we'll do is we'll go into the drawings and make the wrinkleage conform a little better to what we're seeing happening with the tent. Okay, we don't have any plastic tool here. Oh, I need to hit the B key. Hit the B key, you silly goose. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is just kind of punch up this wrinkle action. I would say this could probably be, well wait, if we erase it we're going to get rid of the color as well. So if I'm going to hit the eraser, this is something you can do that's kind of useful. Turn it to lines, so all it's going to erase is the lines, not the lines and the color. Then I can basically, as I say, make this just conform better to the animation I just did. Because yeah, you can see this could actually be made to look quite cool. Maybe even a little wrinkle there. And here I would want to really drive these wrinkles home. Well, that was wrong. Hit the E key. I'm just going to get rid of that one for the moment and redraw it. Yes, I think so. If you really wanted to take it to the next level, what you'd probably do, yeah, I think what you'd probably do is supplement this a bit with some shadow action. So, a little bit there, letting these shadows kind of emerge to sort of support what we're seeing with the fabric. This is actually making way more sense, actually. I'm starting to like it. Yeah. It's kind of a little sloppy, but kind of realistic too, if you think about it. Here, same situation. Let's just kind of, as I say, punch up those wrinkles. Okay, that's it. So, boom, render that and see what we got. Okay, now we see some shadows that spontaneously appeared. So obviously, we probably need to punch up the shadow. That shadow needs to appear kind of the whole. Hey, Ashna. Yeah. Dave, you silly goose. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to do this the commonsensical way, which is go Control C, go back here, Control V, put it in there. Yep. Here, probably need to draw that fresh, and I would say something more like that. And then here, yep, we're just going to allow that shadow to maybe a little hint there as well. Okay, let's see how she plays. The only thing I'm thinking is there seems to be one shadow element missing. Like that little mark I just put in there didn't quite develop like it probably wants to. Yeah. So now, as I say, I'm basically animating straight ahead. No, that was not quite right. Just trying to... Okay, and then this needs to be Control C. There we go. I think that did the trick. Okay, let's see what we got. baby. Oh yeah. Yeah, see that? That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. Yeah, and now it's not like if you really obviously. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do one more thing to does the autofill tool for shadows J Studios. Hey, Mikhail Humphreys. Would you do a custom long job or a quick and dirty job? You know, feel free to email me. I'm always game for whatever, Mikhail. You know, no promises, but you know, I'd take a look at anything. It's all good. So, and you can email me at premiermediadesign@gmail.com. My email is on my website as well. Let me make sure it is on blendedplanet.com. Because it could be my old email address. Gotta be careful about that. Go to about. Yeah, actually, okay. Yeah, the Blended Planet website doesn't even have an email link. So I'll just put it here in the comments. It's Premier Media Design, which is that's my commercial media company. And I'm not gonna type it out, so it's at gmail.com. So I think you can take it from there. So yeah, cool beans. Back to work here. So what was I going to do? Oh yeah, we need to actually insert a level here. So as I said, this shot is definitely becoming a little complicated. Okay, what I'm going to do is I got to give her some eye blinks. I considered giving her a little more life in this shot by letting her irises, you know, move a bit. Like, what is she looking at? I don't actually think that's that important in this shot, but an eye blink or two, like in these pause zones, would really probably help. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this the simplest way possible. It tends to be quite effective, which is create a vector level. Boom. And now, and I'm going to save my work just to be safe. And then what I'll do is I'll hit the B key, and I'm going to cover up her eyes like this and leave just a hint of the lower lid, right? And then I'm going to hit the R key and sample the skin tone. Okay? And now I'm going to also add a little darker color to just kind of punch up the lashes. And that's it. I mean, what's going to happen is, you see, so we'll just, now the challenge here is because it's all hand-drawn animation, you know, frame by frame. This is going to be in the wrong position, so I'm going to hit Control C and I'm going to paste this key in here. Oh wait, okay, she hadn't moved yet, so actually that turned out to be in the right position. Purely coincidence. But before somebody moves to like push like that, they would definitely blink. So, boom. So it's blink and boom. In fact, I'm inclined to think maybe even move it down a frame. So it's kind of really working together with the motion. And then maybe just for kicks and giggles, we'll put a final blink here, and then that one, obviously we need to take the S key and maybe move it to the right position. And who knows, we may discover that it's not quite, it might have to be distorted a little bit. This is where, as I said, I kind of mentioned earlier, if I was using Krita, I'd probably be using the plastic tool to just mush stuff around. And I definitely do not like the snapping. I'm going to have to look into how to deactivate the snapping. Frankly, snapping is almost always a bad thing. Hate to say it, but it's true. Alright, so I'm going to go here, hit the B key, and just fix this little mess. Draw a lasso around it. And if we want to, you're never going to notice this in the show, but just to be just to do my due diligence, I'll go ahead and clean this up by just painting over the noise. Okay, and with that, I think we can probably render it and see what we have. Okay, so J Studios asked, does the autofill tool work, or for shadows, work in OpenToonz as well? Okay, the important thing is it's not really for shadows. I use it for shadows. That's not really what it's about. It's just the ability to draw a shape and have it fill automatically. And I think the answer is yes. I'm quite sure it is in OpenToonz. I seem to remember that being mentioned somewhere. And it's only in vector levels. So hopefully, you know, sometime we're going to get auto shape drawing and filling in a standard smart raster level. That would be kind of cool. But at the moment, we don't have that. So, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it is in OpenToonz as well. Okay, this is interesting. Okay, I made a critical, stupid mistake. Sorry about that, guys. I have to undo this. I made a really stupid mistake. I'm going to go here and just keep hitting undo. Because what I accidentally did was I modified the actual drawing instead of its position. That was really dumb. Okay, so there's a better way to do what I just did. Okay, and that would be here. Let's just hit the Animate tool and just move it like this. Just reposition it. Okay, so now the problem is that it's going to be positioned wrong here as well. So now we'll just kind of get that correct. And probably it's going to animate. Well, no. Okay, so just to be clear about what's going on under the hood, these eyelids are being animated gradually from the first position to the second position. But because the drawings are cut out, you don't see that happen. So basically, there is no problem here. Okay, so Inio-san, J Studios, I guess it should. I haven't used Tahoma myself, but I understand that most of the features are included in both. Yeah, it's really, really close to parity between the two. Yeah, I love it. Now we've got enough natural kind of motion and noise in the movement to where this shot is, I feel like it's where it needs to be. It's, you know, you're just watching the show. You know, that's what you're trying to do emotionally and psychologically. You just want your audience to just be pulled through. You don't want to have stuff in there that sort of flags them so that they're going, "Ooh, what was that?" You know, there's a problem. Did Clip Studio Paint have a raster? Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a Clip Studio Paint guy, but I think Clip Studio Paint has some impressive capabilities in terms of being able to draw raster type levels that then can be manipulated and reshaped almost like vector levels, kind of like what you're doing with the plastic tool, I guess. How well it preserves the sharpness of the imagery when you move things around that way, I don't know. You know, most programs, if you take a pixel drawing and you change its shape, if you think about it, it's going to get fuzzier every time you move it. It's just because, think about what the software has to do. It has to interpolate those pixels in a new position. Usually what it's going to do is map them to a much higher resolution grid, move the grid, reposition the pixels, and then figure out how to blend it. But what I found with Krita, and again, I don't know about Clip Studio, but what I found with Krita is that if that happens and you apply just a little bit of sharpening as you go, it tends to mitigate that problem. So, anywho, hey Tom. So let's see here. Well, my goal was to do a 1-hour session. And the good news is we're only basically half an hour in, and I've already accomplished what I set out to accomplish. I really think using the plastic tool to animate these wrinkles in the or these seams, I should say, was probably the right idea. And I think the eye blinks certainly punch up the life in the art or in the animation, such that it all is working together much better. Yeah, I mean, that shot's working now. Okay, so since Clip Studio doesn't actually have vector, I understand most of the program is based on raster. Yeah, and until I think last year, it really didn't have. It might have been 2 years ago, but it didn't really have strong animation tools either. It was more like Krita in terms of what you could do animation-wise. Very much hand-drawn, frame-by-frame animation. My understanding is that now Clip Studio does have pretty good abilities insofar as parenting layers to one another, doing animation with interpolated keyframes, like you can use the Animate tool in OpenToonz. You know, as I've said, I have not. There's nothing I've seen in Clip Studio that is compelling enough to me that, you know, I can't accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish using Krita and OpenToonz together and occasionally Blender. So for me, it's just not a big thing to consider. I mean, I've looked at it. I actually have Clip Studio Paint. I haven't upgraded it in a while, and you know, I've looked at TV Paint. You know, of course, I've looked at Harmony. I've looked at Flash. I have an old version of Flash. I'm using what I'm using not because it's free, but because it's good. You know, it has its hiccups and it's got its challenges, but basically, you know, OpenToonz is a really, really, really capable piece of software. All right, one thing I can say is you're a smart guy. Wow, okay. You know, that brings up an interesting point that I'm gonna take exactly like 2 minutes to point out something that you guys may find interesting or not. So I'll pop up my paint so that I can just draw really quickly. I have something that I call the AAA triumvirate of toxicity. What the heck is that? 3 things. 1, 2, 3. These are qualities of what I've described at other times as the quintessential people pleaser. Okay? If you're not that person, you're lucky. I am. And it's been quite an odyssey to learn not to be an emotionally healthy person, right? Because people pleasers are always concerned about what other people think on one level or another. Hence, they tend to surround themselves with people that feed their ego or give them approval or whatever. So the AAA triumvirate of toxicity is approval, affirmation. Okay, so approval is who's the opposite would be, you know, who's gonna be mad at me or not like what I did or whatever. Affirmation would be, you know, I'm doing something in the hopes that someone is going to congratulate me that, oh yeah, that's really cool what you came up with there or whatever. What's the third A? Approval, affirmation. Oh, the third one's the worst probably. Admiration. I've tried to make it my goal in recent months and years. It's taken probably 8 years to really grow the hell up. I don't want these generally, you know. So I'm always, whenever somebody says something like, yeah, you're a really smart guy, I'm always like, Dave, don't let that feed your ego, buddy, because that's not good for you. So I appreciate the compliment. I try to do my job well if I can, and I do try to be a reasonably clear thinker and communicator. Well, in business, you know, I've had a commercial media business for 30 years, you know, that kind of pays my bills, and you know, the one thing I've learned over the years that's just really the key to good customer service is communication. Whatever's going on with any client, I never have a client who doesn't have something in the database that's the next logical step that should happen for them. Sometimes that's just checking in to see how they're doing, you know, but there's always something. And when I communicate, what I tend to do is I say, okay, well, here's what I did. Here's what's going on right now, and here's what I'm going to do. And I never, ever leave any responsibility in the hands of the client. So I had a client that I just talked to today that I'm doing a little commercial media project for. And, you know, it's one of those situations where you know he's never going to call you back like the day he said he was going to call you back. Basically, clients never do what they say they're going to do is kind of the rule. And that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing because it means that I'm in control of the schedule, actually. So when I got off the phone with him, I said, okay, so here's what I'm going to do. If I haven't heard from you by Thursday, I will call you. And now the responsibility rests with me, and that's how I roll. And by communicating, and then when you do that, when you actually follow through and do what you said you were going to do, you're head and shoulders above the crowd in terms of vendors. You know, in terms of the people those clients do business with, you're the exception to the rule because you actually do what you said you were going to do. So that's an important thing. Anyway, we've got 9 concurrent viewers, and so I'm going to continue. Just be warned, people, that probably around noon, Tom's going to laugh at this, but around noon there is something in my investment portfolio that I need to look at and check, because we had a really good company that just, I had a suspicion they were probably going to take a dump today, and they did. And so we kind of got out of it, and now what we're doing is we're easing back in. So it is something I need to pay attention to and look at every hour. Don't think I'm like some wealthy mogul guy. I'm not. I mean, I do okay, but it's not that. It's just that it's interesting to me. You know, managing the money that we've saved and trying to invest it wisely and make it grow is just, it's kind of fun, you know. So it's been something I've paid more attention to in the last month especially. So sorry about that interruption that may cause. But when at that time, what I may do is just go deal with it and then come back. But we'll see. So, okay, so where are we at? What we need to do is we got Mel here, and then he's going to actually duck again. He sees her coming out, and he's going to duck. So what we need to do is pull up 552 and repurpose it for that shot. Okay, so File, let's save all just to do our due diligence. And we're going to pull up 552 and see if we can essentially twist it around to make it work for number 554. So there's 552. And the first thing we want to do right out of the gate is get rid of the camera move. We do not want the camera to be animated. Boom. Okay, so now we've got our starting point. This is what we had in the last shot. And this is actually another example of where the Krita liquify tool would really be something useful here. We don't quite have that in OpenToonz or Tahoma, but we've got something kind of close with the selection tool, because when you do a selection, let's just look at one of these drawings. You can do a selection and hit Control so that you can kind of get, oops, that wasn't what was supposed to happen. So you can sort of get a rubbery stretching kind of going on. So that there's something else here that I'm noting that we want to be careful of. The image sequence used in 552 was taken from another scene. Hence, we've got all these drawings that actually weren't used in this shot. So we want to be scene is that I am going to, okay, step 1 is I'm going to reverse this keyframe. Okay, and then we're probably going to create some new drawings just to be safe. And actually, I like what I just did. That was a happy accident. What I just did was I don't actually need him to duck completely behind, I don't think. Let me look at what we have coming up next. Yeah, then it cuts to her. Actually, that's right. He should duck down to the point where he's still able to see, but he's being as discreet as he can be, because he still sees her. Obviously, the audience wouldn't be seeing this if it wasn't Mel seeing it. And then we cut close to her. You know, obviously at that point we're kind of honing in on her. But okay, so that's good information. It tells me that I probably want to go to here. Okay, this keyframe doesn't need to be there either. And so I'm going to hit the Animate tool. Where did Mel go? Okay. What just happened? Where did Mel go? Where's Mel? I don't see Mel anymore. I'm going to hit undo a few times because I don't know what the heck I just did. It's probably got something to do, you know, on 552, we've got a 3D camera move, right? And the way these layers are positioned, they're positioned in 3D space, so I want to be careful what I'm monkeying around with here. So what I should do is immediately save this as 554 so that I don't get myself in trouble. Because I've been known to get myself in trouble. We'll have 554. And I don't want to get in trouble. And then I need to change my render settings, because this is going to be my output settings, I should say. So this is going to be 554. And I'm not going to render it right now. I'm just going to save it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is get the initial position, which is here, and then he scoots down to really about here. So what I want to do is make it a pretty quick move, but I want him to be more like here. So he's looking, and he ducks. And now, I love the eye blink, so I'm thinking, let's take this and hit Control X, ripples everything north, so that we see that blink right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and take the liberty of putting one more blink in there just to see how that feels. Yeah, I like that. Okay, cool. So now the question I suppose becomes, how long is he going to be parked there? I would say 3 seconds is plenty of length for this shot, so let's just cut all this off. Just select it and delete. Okay. So now I had mentioned about monkeying with the image sequence. I don't think that's going to be necessary. What I was going to do, the reason I mentioned it, we could try it with the plastic tool, but the reason I mentioned it is I kind of wanted to see his hair billow up a bit when he pops down. Okay. It's only going to take 5 minutes to try, so let's try it. Okay, so let's hit the X key, create a mesh, apply it. Okay, so the translation of the character isn't propagating through. Yeah, we can't have them translated here. We would have to apply the translation to the actual plastic tool, and I don't know of a way to do that by just cutting and pasting. So I think the solution here is we're going to go hit the A key, and we're just going to actually redo the translation in the plastic tool. Okay, so we're not actually using, whoops, that's not what I meant to do right there. So we're not actually using plastic tool animation here yet. Okay, so then what I said we were going to do is take this key, move it down here, and then pop him down to about there. Okay, so now what we've done is we've done that to the plastic tool level. Why did we do that? Well, now what we're going to do is we're going to animate his hair. So I'm going to hit the X key, we're going to build a skeleton, and the whole key to this is going to be to create some regions that are animatable, like this. Probably, I think I'm going to actually put like 2 nodes there. This one, probably like that. And then I'm doing that so I have a little more control. And then what I'm going to do is take this node and let me think. Do we want to stretch? I don't think we want to stretch. we don't need to stretch the bottom of his hair. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go like this, and what I'm effectively doing is putting a control zone around his head so that it doesn't get deformed. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so now if we go into animate mode, what I'm going to do, just to keep myself from having major hassles here, is I'm going to I think what we'll do is we'll move this actually down here so it all happens quickly. And then here's where we're going to do the plastic tool. So what I'm going to do is put in a global key like this. That should have created a key for everything. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one key right here. And this key is going to be causing his hair to pop up. And then when he lands down here again, it would settle back down. That's pretty much all I'm trying to do. Probably not that useful of a little bit of animation, but probably isn't going to hurt anything either. So let's see how that looks. It probably worked pretty well, I think. Let's turn that off. Okay, obviously, yeah, we have a bit of a problem. This key and this key really need to be together. I should say this key and this key. What if we do everything with the plastic tool? Oh, can't do that. Okay. So this key, I'm going to move back up to the top. This key, I'm going to delete. Okay. This is I'm making this complicated, I know, but the idea is that we want to actually control the motion completely with the plastic tool. So, I'm going to adjust the skeleton a bit. I'm going to give myself a little more latitude here. And so I like the way he moves down, or you know, he kind of drifts a little bit. I actually think that looks pretty cool. Obviously, we're going to have to take his shadow and map it to the plastic tool as well. That actually is kind of cool. So what if we slide this down a little bit so it's a little tighter? And then the problem here, of course, is that we didn't get back to the we didn't get back to the prior position of the hair. So let's smack this down, smack these down. Yeah, that works. That works. Haven't looked at the comments, by the way, here in a while, guys. So Max says it's an awesome movement of hair. I don't know if it's awesome. Yeah, the folders in CSP. I haven't looked into it, but it seems to me that it's a powerful paradigm. So an awesome movement of hair. So I like the drift. So now what we need to do is his shadows are obviously totally whacked. So the simple solution to that is, here's the plastic tool. All we need to do is take column 4. Actually, this is going to be a problem. Column 4 is parented to... okay, let me think about this one. Column 4 is already parented to column 2. And if we parent it directly to the plastic tool, that camera there is erroneous. I think that's going to be incorrect. But we'll see. Okay. Does it render correctly? Yeah, I've seen that happen before. When you pipe a level through the plastic tool, all of a sudden it kind of switches the, you know, the layer-based opacity. It kind of flakes it out. But what that means, friends, is I think we're done. Let's find out. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and switch to Vegas over here. And how are we doing on time? It's just about 1 o'clock, so I'm going to have to take a break shortly. This is shot number 554. And there it is. There it is. There's the render. 24 frames at 8 frames per second. Boom. And there's the sequence. We're going to turn this, or resampling, off. And now we don't need this shot in the storyboard. Cool. All right, so now we got to get the sort of the timing right here. I like it. I like it a lot. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. Looks like stupid old OBS is still doing its thing where it has to reconnect. Yeah, OBS just did its thing in a big way. It took it like 400 frames to reconnect just now. So I don't know what you guys missed. I'm going to just recap this real quick. If we go to Vegas, I pulled this shot in. Once he ducks down, honestly, probably about there. And then we'll cut back to her so that he can see what's going on. I like it. Man, I really do like it. Okay, so we're gonna have a bit of a job to do here, animating Tianara. A question I'm asking myself at the moment is, if we're gonna do this, do we really need this? Do we need the wide shot? I mean, we know Mel's looking at her. Why are we gonna do 2 shots when we really own? This is what we care about, right? Is what is she doing? What is she thinking? This is totally necessary. This is certainly necessary because this is where she sees her avenue of escape. This shot, I don't even know why it's in there. I had notated some time ago that it wasn't actually needed in the storyboard, so I'm just taking that out. So yeah, the question is, do we need the wide shot or not? And with that, I am going to take a 5-minute break. So if you guys stick around, I will be back in just a few minutes. And if you decide not to stick around, I will not penalize you. Okay? So that's that. I got to go check some things, and then I will be back. That was quick. Looks like Valerie. Oh, jeez. Come on, OBS. Really? Really, OBS? OBS. Okay, so I'm back. And I probably just materialized out of thin air, I would guess, because OBS once again was dropping frames for a while. So, but yeah, Valerie had beaten me to it. So we're done with this. And let's go File, New Scene. We'll save all. And we're going to knock out shot number 555. We got to make a decision. Are we going to do the wide shot or go straight to the close-up? Gosh, I think if we're going to do the wide shot, it should be really wide. Let's look back here a bit. I want to go back to when Mel was up on this hill, looking down at the monkey. Come on, where's that wide shot? I don't like the pose there at all. Let's just scan through. Well, things that make you go, So how about, nah. I think, Max, that's a joke, right? I think I get your joke after my little rant yesterday. I appreciate your sense of humor. Well played, my friend. Well played. I like it. Okay, let's keep looking here. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say probably... I don't know. I do kind of like the wide shot. So let's just rock and roll and do it. Let's just do it. Okay, if we're going to do the wide shot, we're really starting from scratch here. So I'm going to save this as 555. Let's just save all. Actually, as I often forget, I really want to change my output settings first to plus scenes 555 render. I spelled that wrong. Render. And this is going to be 555. And despite those who are wanting to see me use TIFFs, I'm using JPEGs and saving this as 555. Okay? Since there's really no content here, it should save kind of quick-ish. Output settings, yeah. Okay. So what are we going to do? Well, I don't even think we need to include the storyboard. The thing I want to look at is whether we have a background image that we could just slam in here from back a while ago. So what I'm going to do is switch to, I'm on the correct screen already. So I'm going to go here to the extras folder. I'm pretty sure that we're going to find a couple tent drawings here, one of which might be apropos. Aha, there's one of them. That's definitely not it. It would really be this one, probably, if you're going to go real wide. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this in and see what we can do with it. Although, there's one other thing I want to check here. If I look at the storyboard image, this does look almost like a reversal of this shot. Or this drawing, I should say. But no, I think let's go super wide and kind of see where it takes us. Okay, so now it brought the whole image sequence in, and so we don't want that one in there. And we're going to want to we're already cropped to the camera view. Obviously, we're going to have to deal with the sky. But something of this nature is kind of what I'm thinking. Something like that. So this is going to be a really, really wide shot. If I do that, okay, let me, I'm going to jump over here. Sorry, guys. So if I do that, going to just play around with this a bit. Hit the N key, so we're seeing actual size. Definitely would want to punch up the background a bit. Okay, if we're going to go with something like this, then I need to whack out a pretty hardcore pencil test. So I'm going to go to my raster brushes, which is what I prefer for pencil tests. Usually that pencil. And I'm going to crank the background opacity down so I can see what I'm doing. It's really just there as a reference. And let's start to doodle. Hit the B key, and as always, save early, save often. And I'm going to start drawing here, well, as soon as Tahoma's done saving. Okay, this may not make all the sense in the world at first. But I am going to, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and onion skin this. And now I'm going to animate her head, just her head. Just get her standing up. Okay, this arm, this hand, she's picking up the sword. So there's the hilt. Okay, not too bad actually. That's kind of feeling like what I had in mind. Okay, I'll zoom in a little bit so it's easier for you all and me to see what the heck I'm doing. Okay, so got her hand on there. That means her elbow. We'll do a little bit of sticks and balls here. Okay, this. Okay, so what I want to be careful of is she's anchored to this spot on the ground. Ah, yes, that's what I was worried about. So this whole bit of shenanigans, I tell you what I need to do. If she's anchored here on the ground, actually her foot would be coming right here. Okay, so this is her left foot. Okay, if that's her left foot, then you can see the problem. She's nowhere near tall enough. Okay, so, but that's easy to fix. And it kind of gets us anchored into the rule of thirds a little better too. So I'm going to hit this, get that. She's standing up. I might tilt that a little. And I would say this one, well, actually, let me redo that. I want to leave that indication of the foot there so I don't kind of lose track of where things are. Okay, cool. Yeah. And I like it. I like the way it looks like she's actually turning her head and looking that way. So here she's, you know, she's kind of got her headdress. You don't really see her face too much. Here you'd begin to see her face. And maybe she's actually looking off to the left and then immediately to the right. So if that were to happen, I think it'd be kind of interesting. Boom, bop. Okay, right there. D key. Oh, come on, really? What the heck just happened? I have no idea what just happened. I hit the D key to make a duplicate of number 4. That's what was supposed to happen. Alright, and now I'm just going to grab this and reverse it. Ba-doop, boop, ba-doop, doop. Okay. Checking out the situation. Okay, B key again. Alright, so she's anchored here on her knee. And I suppose her footy would be kind of appearing. So here you got her she's kind of hunched. Again, anchored on her knee. This knee is here. Okay. Boom. Standing up. Okay, so this is the weird pose. This is the weird pose. Because obviously, you know, she needs to be doing something here. So what she would do with her body weight, she's pushing up off her left knee. So I guess it'd be kind of like, this is really transitional. It's only on the screen for 1 frame. But yeah, this would be kind of just foreshortened away from the camera kind of thing. And then I kind of did a pretty bad job of drawing that, but just an indication of a foot shape that is right now a little too low. Okay, let's turn off the onion skin so we can kind of see what we're doing. And oh, hey, Maria, didn't see you there. I'm playing with your Arachne project. Cool. All right, so back to the B key. Okay, so here we're gonna deal with real simple shapes here because obviously this is a pretty wide shot. So arm is extended. She's bent over. We don't really get to see her face too much here. This is all moving kind of quick. The sword's picked up. My sense is that maybe this should actually angle up a bit here. You know, she picks it up kind of quickly. Boom, bop, bop. Something like that feels about right. Okay, so I hope you guys didn't mind my little triumvirate of toxicity. Bit of claiming the high ground of wisdom. Perhaps legitimately, perhaps not. Okay. Okay, so one thing to consider here, by the way, is to go over to Vegas and ask ourselves, are we fouling up her costuming? And I don't think we are. Oh, yeah. Yes, okay, so she already ripped off the veil. And really, we never do see the rest of her costuming. So I'm going to assume the following. She has not yet gotten into the wedding robes. So I'm going to assume these are just some fairly casual transitional robes that she's wearing. And so it's basically not quite ankle length kind of thing. Here, got the not quite happy with the positioning of her elbow there. I like that. It's kind of squeaked down. Okay, so I guess you could argue that that one is pretty foreshortened, actually. So that's okay. She's got like a beltish thing. And again, her headdress kind of goes like that. Moomin episode. I don't know what Moomin is. What's Moomin? Okay, so here we're going to go Control C, Control V, and then probably just to give it a little bit of sparkle, let's go ahead and allow the sword position to shift a little bit there. Okay, that didn't make any sense. Well, the reality is this is what doesn't make sense. This should be out here. And it shouldn't be changing its relative length from her hands. And honestly, if there was going to be a change, I should think it would be more pointed out, not down. And look what I just did. I just actually made it roughly the same as it was. Maybe I should have my freaking onion skins on again here so I can see what I'm doing. Alright. Onion skins back off. Play. Yeah. Okay. This is only going to be a, I'm thinking an 18 framer. It's an 18 framer, people. That's the problem with action, is you gotta do a lot of work just to wind up with one second or two of show. Part of the game, baby. Moomin is a troll cartoon from Finland. Was animated in the 60s by a Japanese studio and later in the 90s. And okay. So I read something. It goes, never include scenes that are not essential for the storytelling. What is the percentage of scenes I've deleted? Well, in movies, I know this isn't the answer quite that you were looking for. In movies, to delete 3 or 4 major scenes is not unusual. For this show, really, there have been cuts that have been deleted, but there really haven't been scenes deleted. So according to my nomenclature, everything that I'm working on right now is really one scene. This whole situation, you know, in the tent is a pretty long scene. Now you could think of it as, you could kind of think of it as several sub scenes because it is a pretty long sequence. But what has happened is there have been cuts, like this is a cut, this is just a single shot, that have been chopped out. That's happened plenty of times. I don't know how many, but it's certainly happened plenty of times. But actually you saw it just a little bit ago, where I took a image that was in the storyboard, and I had actually written on it, this shot isn't needed, and I chopped it out of the show. But it would be my general opinion that with animation, you're less likely to have entire scenes cut. because for two reasons. The lesser reason is, or I don't know. One reason is that animation's so labor intensive that you're going to be really, really careful up through the point of doing a storyboard and or an animatic to make sure that whatever you're going to actually animate belongs in the show. So you're going to be really careful about that. So when things get cut, it tends to be just a shot here and a shot there. What was the other reason I was thinking of about that? Oh, the other thing is with animation, you know, this show has to, okay, as a general rule, if you have a show or a movie and you're editing, when you start chopping things down so that the editing is faster paced, that almost always turns out to be a good thing. Okay, so yeah, sometimes you cut things out, but what you find is that with an animation, remember, we want this show to come out to exactly 24 minutes. Okay, we don't have the latitude you have with a movie. Oh, it's interesting Maria mentioned Alan Rickman, because I just watched a little thing on YouTube, Best of Alan Rickman, and you know, they were kind of talking about the period before he died to a degree, and yeah, really talented guy, amazing guy, well liked, very well regarded guy. Anyway, so because the timing has to be so strict on an anime, I have a secret weapon in my back pocket, and the secret weapon is this. If you look at the edit of the show, right now the show's clocking in at 23 minutes and 33 seconds. But remember, there's going to be an intro segment and there's going to be an outro segment. So the truth is, I have the latitude to probably chop almost a minute out of this show once it's all animated. And that will not be in the form of cutting scenes out as much as it'll be going through and actually making the editing tighter and tighter and tighter. So what's going to happen is I'm going to wind up with a show that's edited really tightly and really moves along. So I'm not crying too much about these shots I'm working on here, where I know this is only 2 seconds of show. I mean, this is barely 2 seconds of show. Well, that's okay. Tighter and tighter and tighter makes it go better. Everything moves along. Inexperienced filmmakers are always going to err on the opposite side. They're gonna have an edit that drags along, and they're not editing it very tightly. Partly because they want it to be long enough, and maybe they didn't shoot enough footage. I actually did that once. But yeah, you're going to typically err on the side of not editing tight enough, and you're kind of worried because if I edit it really tight so it flows really nicely, all of a sudden my show turns out to not be long enough. I don't think that's even a potential danger with this, because the content that I have, I'm pretty confident is going to fill up 24 minutes pretty nicely, especially once I get the intro and exit segments, because really you're talking about, 23 minutes max, right? So anyway, that's the story on that. Let us continue, shall we? But it's a good question. You do want to be ruthless. Okay, so I'm speaking mainly to Max here. Ultimately, you're going to negotiate with your show or your movie or your animation, because there will be a tug of war between the length that you're shooting for and what the edit is telling you, right? It's like almost impossible to really know in advance if you've got your editing correct. It's hard to know. So it's a negotiation. It's an ongoing interaction between you and the show where you're trying to be sensitive. That's where having someone else watch it once in a while is helpful, right? And so then what happens is, as you develop that sensitivity, you're going to have some scary moments, because what's going to happen is you're going to be like, this is dragging. I know that I need to cut that shot. And you love that shot, right? You're married to it because you put so much work into it or whatever. But your gut tells you it needs to be chopped, and the show will be better. And if you have the guts to chop it, you'll be like, you know what? If you go back and look at it a week later, where you haven't looked at it for a week, you're like, there's no question it's better. I'm so glad I chopped that out. It was a cool scene, but it was dragging the show down. I've had that happen a zillion times. I mean, it's really well, that's right. Tom's correct. It's the only thing that matters. The only thing that matters is the audience's experience. Hence, to bring it back home here, that's why I wanted to sit here and wrestle with this choice. It's a really, really 50-50 situation, okay? All I'm gaining with this 2 seconds of show that I'm animating right now is seeing her stand up. Does the audience really need to see that? In this case, kinda, sorta, maybe. And I'm gonna say it's probably fine, because seeing her pick up that sword is kind of germane to the role she's playing in the show right now, right? So he's seeing her grab that, so he knows there's a blade involved. Okay, so how important is that? I don't know. But if we cut straight to the close-up, we wouldn't specifically have reminded the audience that, hey, she's armed. Is it that important here in this show right now? Probably not. I mean, if you got to this part, if you got downstream here a ways, and we see the two meet each other, at the moment that it really matters, we see the sword, and what are you going to do? You're going to say, whoa, where'd that come from? Of course not. You know where the sword came from because you knew she had it at one point, right? So these are choices you just make. The bottom line is that this shot in particular that I'm working on right now is one that probably you could leave it in the show or you could cut it out. And the show's not going to be harmed or helped much either way. So in my mind, what I'm getting out of this shot more than anything is just the discipline and the fun of doing the animation, right? I'm taking an extra hour or whatever it's going to be just because it's kind of a cool shot, but I wouldn't say it's critical to the storytelling by any stretch of the imagination. Not at all. Especially because if you wanted to think like an anime producer, you're saying, okay, we want to have the most efficient, economical production possible. How would we re-envision this scene in order to accomplish that? That's a really good question to be asking. And the answer probably is you'd go straight to this shot, but she would rise up into the frame. You'd draw her head and have her pop up over like 3 frames. She just pop up and she just stood up, right? And only an idiot would stand up but not have the sword in her hand, right? So that would be the most economical solution to the storytelling moment that we're trapped in right now, would be to just go straight to the close-up and have her rise up into frame. That would solve all the storytelling problems and put the correct assumption in the audience's mind. There wouldn't be any surprises about the sword, blah, blah, blah. So that would be the economical way to go. I'm doing it the not economical way to go at the moment. Just because, like I said, it's kind of fun to challenge yourself at times, say, well, this will be a fun shot to do. No harm, no foul, as they say, right? So I do want to keep these drawings pretty simple. And as I'm refining it, I'm actually simplifying it out to very, very, very bold shapes. So we're getting there. Here, this is probably the toughest pose because it's so much of a transition between being squatted down and standing up, right? So we're getting away with murder. It's not the best drawing in the world, but why I don't really need to wrestle about the way that her weight is going to move for this reason. Right? It all goes by so fast, you're not going to, I mean, we're in good shape here. And so, anyway, I hope that's all quite helpful. It's actually good for me to puzzle these things out and actually say them, because it really firms up in my mind why I'm doing what I'm doing and the way I'm doing it, There does seem to be a little bit of a scale issue here. Let me look at this. For arm, let's just erase this. I don't think it's not a big sword, so I don't think we need to like have her grabbing it with two hands kind of thing. So I'm just gonna kinda I think I'm gonna leave that vague in this case. It does look like she's holding it though with both arms. So I'm just trying to get everything in place so that it acts as a suitable guide, because we're about to chop to the close-up, obviously. Okay, so we have a weight problem as well. We're okay up to this point, but basically she'd be tipping over. So really these feet need to be more like there, I would say. And so I'll just turn on the onion skin so I can match this up just so we're staying on track. Okay, so now I'm going to look at the chat for half a second here. Thinking your main concern is guiding the audience, right? Like there's a guidance for how long to show text, how long to read it out loud 3 times, something like that. Yeah, I mean, you can, rules are good. You can go too far with rules. You know, you have to be open to the exception when they come along, of course. Pacing is a factor I noticed. Some animes make a roller coaster ride. Fast, no time to dwell for the audience. Right. It really depends on what you're doing. This show is kind of in the middle. It's a little slower paced kind of show. You can show a shot of the sword in hand after the face rising. Well, exactly. If you were going to go straight to the close-up, that's what you do. Exactly. I was going to say that, actually, if you can believe me. I really was. Which would be when she rises up out of frame. Right here, you just see the blade of the sword sort of pop into frame as well. And, you know, that absolutely, completely tells you what's going on. So, manifestly, to Max's point, it could certainly be argued that this shot is not needed. But that's why, from the very start, I was sitting here debating whether I was going to do it at all. So, close-up of hand tightening the grip. And so, of course, yeah, and that's Anime 101, is tell everything through close-ups, you know. And yeah, it is, Tom. Correct. It's an establishing shot. You're just reaffirming that this is what Mel is seeing. And then when it switches to the close-up, we're basically stepping out of Mel's perception into what's actually going on. Right. Yeah. So, yeah, Tom's pretty well echoing the way I'm thinking about this shot, such as it is. Okay, so let's just go straight to ink and paint and hope for the best. Again, I want to keep this really, really clean and simple. So, boop. Better save our work. Smoothing. Hardness. Okay, Tahoma's still saving. Here. Okay, so the blade turns to the left. It actually curves out a bit to the right and then turns to the left. So I guess I kind of got it right. And there's 2 curves. So that's pretty much what we've got with the blade. It's kind of I mean, it's a weird blade. It's a weird kind of sword, and that did not work at all. I gotta redo that. Obviously, it doesn't have to be. Let's see, what did I do? I think it was Shift-Alt-R. Yeah, Shift-Alt-R. Okay, so now you can see how absolutely ridiculously stupid that looks. So I'm gonna, this is like really, this is actually kind of embarrassing. But I'm gonna actually cut it into pieces and then reconnect the dots, because oh my gosh. What possessed me? What was I thinking to give her a curved blade? Like, what? Could I have possibly been any dumber than to do that? Man, Dave, what are you thinking? This will go down in history as like one of the stupidest creative decisions I ever made. Like, how do you make your job as hard as humanly possible, right? Okay. Okay, so, hello, sir. I have a question. Is it possible to make more anime style in Adobe Animate or Krita? Anime style? Okay, I can only give a simple answer to that question, but here's my simple answer. Adobe Animate is a vector-based program. Krita is a paint program. So if you're going to put a gun to my head and I have to pick, I'm going to pick Krita by a wide margin. Why? Because most anime is still done with pencil art that's scanned. And so that rough quality that you get with scanned art, and also all of the overlaid effects that you see in anime that of course I do here and there, glows and little particle effects and different things, it seems to me is easier to do in Krita. Now I can't speak to how stable Adobe Animate is these days. I have no idea. I have an old, I've got like Flash 5 or something, it's like a really old version of Flash that I basically never use for anything. And I'm not a fan. I don't like animating with Flash. I'm not really big on vectors at all. I don't like vectors generally. I've only recently started using them in Tahoma, just for shadows mainly, and then sometimes for background paintings too, because you can layer up the you can kind of layer up various levels of transparent vector shapes to sort of build up a background painting or something. But yeah, if I have to decide, I think for an anime aesthetic, no question, I'd go for Krita. But I mean, I'm a Krita guy anyway. I'm not an Adobe Animate guy, so of course I'm gonna probably favor Krita for. Lately I've been using Tahoma for everything, and sometimes, every once in a while, I regret it. Every once in a while I'm like, kind of feeling like jumping back into Krita, but Tahoma's more stable. I mean, by kind of a wide margin actually, and there's nothing I can do in Krita that I can't do in Tahoma, but sometimes it's harder to do in Tahoma. So, there's trade-offs all over the place. Okay, let's just not be dumb here. Let's grab this. Hit the S key, hit Control V, and then we might as well, we've committed to this drawing, so we might as well stick with it. It is a wide shot. I think, frankly, based on what I saw mounted on the wall, I actually think this is too big. So I'm gonna this blade is only about 1 foot-ish long. It's a little longer than that, but not too much. So I'm gonna say, let's take this, shrink this down, pop it in there. I'm probably gonna have to paint some of it by hand to make it work. So I'm gonna stay zoomed out here to the actual side. This is what we're seeing right here, is what the audience is gonna see in terms of resolution. So It's quite useful to work at that resolution so that you don't wind up putting a bunch of detail in it that they're never going to see anyway, right? Hence, I'm making her hand a really simple shape. Super, super simple. So I hope that answered your question or helped. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is just put a really broad indication of her hair situation that I did not like. And you know, this is what you see in anime is when you get these really wide shots. I mean, I've mentioned a few times here that I've been watching Fairy Tale. And I mean, if you look closely at some of the stuff they do on that show in terms of the quality of what you're seeing, darn it, it's pretty rough. But they know when it matters, and when it matters, they get it right generally, right? But this needs to be really, really simple, like that. And I'm just going to put a dot there for her bindu for this shot, and then we'll kind of put maybe some slight indications of wrinkles, but we got to keep this really simple. Okay, so I'm going to keep on that track here. There's her knee. This is that transitional frame that I've mentioned a few times. Alright, Darren asked out loud during his live stream how to pronounce Krita. Oh, that's an ongoing controversy. A lot of people say Krita, a lot of people say Krita. I looked it up. It started as a Swedish word, so it sounded like 3 syllables. Karita. Not Krita or Krita. Krita, but actually Karita. Okay. I suppose the world will keep on turning if I keep pronouncing it wrong. Okay, so let's just bounce back here. And I think in this case, I'll go ahead and angle her head up a little bit. Again, we're dealing with a shape that we don't want to like reinvent the wheel here, so I'm going to go ahead and put that like that, and then we'll zoom in and clean out this little bit of garbage. This is going to be fun to paint. I can see that now. But this has to be really simple. Simple, simple, simple shapes. Okay, her foot is kind of turning around, so we'll just kind of, hopefully, the danger working in super close like this is that you botch the scale of things. It looks like I did okay, actually. So that's cool. So now I want to make sure I close my shapes so that they're going to be able to fill with color. And I would say here, the most sensible approach would be to cut and paste that in. And now we'll say, okay, let's allow her weight to go ahead and shift a bit. But now we're back to actual size. And why don't we just do this? Let's go Control C, Control V, and do a flippy poo for her other foot. Yeah, you can do that. You can do that. So she's got this belt thing going on, and all right. Yeah, it's working. I think it's working. Okay, an elf in Sweden cries every time you mispronounce Krita. Krita. Karita. Karita. I think it opens community support now with a squirrel mascot. Yeah, I don't know. little indication of the belt. Little indication of the belt. Big indication of the belt. And again, simple shapes. S key, Control C, Control V. I'm just gonna kind of smack it in there like that, and then we'll have to go in and fine tune. There's a girl that works at Walmart in my town that wears a headdress that looks just like this. I saw her yesterday. Whoops. Yikes. There's a yikes moment right there. So, again, simple, simple, simple. That's what the audience gets to see. So, you guys get the idea. Now, I would say this little elbow situation could be better. And then that. Zoom way in there, close that shape. And now we can go like this, Control C, go here. I guess we want to actually put in a drawing first and then hit Control V. And then we'll see if it works. What we're going to try to do is just go ahead and flip this. The poor man's way to flip it is to just put a minus before the horizontal. And adjust to taste. I can see a problem. Some of you are out there going, yeah, it's a problem there, Dave. Okay, actually, let's undo that. What I wanted to do was just reverse this part. And then we'll have to make it match up. Because really the cloth that falls around her shoulders would not be moving too much. So erase, erase, and now just connect the dots, right? There we go. There we go. And then what was it we wanted to do with the blade? I mean, frankly, it doesn't really matter much, but I think what I said was, what I'm going to do is move the anchor point here on her elbow and just kind of look at what you might do. I'm just thinking a little tiny change will be fine. Yeah, that's fine. It's hardly the focus of the situation. So, B key, boop. Close our shapes. How we doing? Yep, looking pretty good. This one should not be closed. Yep, I was right. There we go. Yes. Now we're in shape. Okay, so squirrel in Swedish is ekorre. Ekorre? Ekorre. I actually said it right. The sharply trilled are ekorre. Ekorre. Ekora. That's what it would be. Ekora. Not too far from a possible Krita pronunciation. Reminds me of who was that guy I played, Maria, in The Miracle Worker, Mr. Glassnose. I'm kidding. I don't remember the guy's name. That he had this Greek accent, Greek sort of thing. You know, the trill. You know, the trill is part of what you do when you speak with that type of a sound. Mr. Yeah, I don't even remember the guy's name. Maria remembers. All right. It's a contraction of two words according to one post I saw. Post said Krita is the word for crayon. Now the crayon thing would kind of make sense. Okay, so pink, rich pink, less rich pink, a slightly yellow favoring Greek, olive flesh tone, a sword blade color. I guess her belt. What color was her belt? It's probably some other variation of pink. Oh, heaven help us. Do we ever see... Wait. Oh, great. Here we don't see a belt. You know what? So, Max, you'll forgive me. Right, Anagnos. That's right. Okay. This is going to be that quintessential case where I am going to ignore the facts. I'm going to ignore the facts. And I'm going to give her this belt, even though... Fix that so you make the line straight, not so watery or ink looking. Okay, so I'm waiting for stupid old OBS to reconnect. Okay. Their OBS is reconnected. So GTSTV954 says Tahoma looks, the ink pen looks watery. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by watery. If you have, I mean, I could guess that, whoops, that's the wrong color there, Jack. I could guess that if you went to one of these shots where I had cut and pasted and rotated, in other words, done a translation on the sword, it is softer, but that's not really because of the pen, that's because of the translation. Anytime you're rotating and resizing things in any program, they're going to blur out, unless it's a vector program, right? Okay, so there, my contention would be it doesn't matter, because you say, whoa, that's really soft, right? Well, yeah, but look at actual size. This is what the audience is going to see. This is actual size of the final rendered imagery. You can see that it's pretty sharp. You could always add a light sharpening to mitigate that if it really bothered you. But the other thing is, I'm just using some sort of middling settings on the ink pen. So you can crank the hardness up a lot. And so then you get it's a pretty sharp line. I mean, it really is. Now, if you want to draw straight lines, I think if you hit, you just hit shift and you can draw straight lines as far as that goes. So hope that answers your... Started out lionizing Helen Keller, and then from a complicated misunderstanding turned against her when she was still a child. Yeah. Yeah, so Swedish for crayon is Krita. Sounds like the female Dalmatian in 101 Dalmatians. I think that was Pardita. Pongo and Perdita. Twain adored both Annie and Helen and said aloud that he recognized how important Annie was to Helen. Lots of people never did, which bothered Helen. But Anagnos started out all for Helen, then against. And I think they reconciled, but they always felt iffy about Anagnos. Yeah. Well, I can imagine no one would have heard of Anagnos unless they saw the play and were a little more familiar with the actual history there. Okay, so we got a little bit more detail. We got to poke in here. I'm going to ignore the fact that my brush settings changed. And I would say, I feel like now that the hardness is cranked, I'm not able to get quite as much lightness. So I'm going to roll it back. What time is it? 2 o'clock. Holy smokes. 2 o'clock. Well, I'm going to take half a second here. You guys don't get to see this, but I'm going to go on my other chart and look at, yeah, we've got a couple alarms. Yeah, we've got some alarms we need to attend to. So I want to look up Newt. Sorry guys, I got to do this. they're looking okay. But yeah, I've actually got some things I need to attend to on the portfolio side of the equation. So because of that, I am going to actually wrap up this session. I've been going for 2 hours, and I'm going to wrap it up so I can go check some alarms that are going off after I finish dialing in these drawings. Yeah, so now it's going to be color shadows, and done. But I think that's it for the moment. And so guys, thanks for hanging out. I am going to dive on ya, and I may be back later today, not sure. If I do, it'll probably be in the evening. And so for now, as you guys know and often hear me say,